to have you here. Big shout out YouTube gang, big shout out Patreon gang. The support on Patreon really does mean a lot, so a big thank you to everyone supporting there. Right, what are we looking at today? Well, you read the title of this video. Beat repeat, but make it MIDI. Make it MIDI. So let's have a quick listen what I've got going on here. I've got this one synth line, and I can do this kind of stuff to it. Sort of catching the MIDI. I've got a drum beat going on here. Let's take a look at what's happening in the drums so that, let's press stop on this, and then I'll show you what's going on with the rack, and then we're going to build the rack. So on this drum rack, I've got a kick drum, some glitchy sounds, snare drum, and then I sliced up a break. I'm not going to go, I don't need to play all of them. You hear what's going on there. So I've made some stuff on these macros so that when I play this beat, and the MIDI for that just looks something like that. So that on these macros I can do some stuff. I can randomly transpose the samples. I could just do a whole sort of general transpose on the samples. But the important thing here is this ratchet situation. So what the ratchet is going to do is it's going to catch the incoming MIDI note and just repeat it. And we can change the rate at which that is happening. And then we can do all of these random stuffs, some bit crushing, and then reset the whole thing. So you might have come across the beat repeat plugin over here in Ableton. It does these similar kind of things. You can hear it's sort of grabbing, but the beat repeat is grabbing audio. So we're going to look at how to do that grabbing MIDI. And grabbing MIDI is kind of cool because then you can add all these sort of random stuff to it and MIDI processing and that's, oh, that's nice. Or over here, if we're doing a melody kind of a thing, we can grab parts of the melody like this, maybe make some of the notes random, do some stuff with the processing, undo the random noting, and then undo the ratcheting. That's what's going on. That's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to mute both of those channels. I'm not going to look at how to build these sounds exactly, but full Patreon members will be able to download this set at the end of today. Right, let's get stuck into it. So what we're going to need to do is create some MIDI notes and then find a way of sort of catching those MIDI notes and repeating them and doing stuff with that. So let's start by creating a really simple situation where we can easily hear what's happening to our MIDI notes. So we're going to start with an instrument. We're going to start with an operator. I'm just going to program in a very simple series of MIDI notes. Let's make that loop here. Lovely. Let's press play. Let's change the sound a tiny bit because that's going to get quite intense if we leave it like that. Just something like this. Right. Let's press stop. So we now have a setup where we can really quite easily hear what's happening to our MIDI notes if they're being trapped and caught and ratcheted and all of that stuff. So we're now going to create a whole series of chains where MIDI is being sent to all sorts of different places. Sometimes it's going to come straight through and go to the synthesizer. Sometimes it's going to get caught, and so we need to turn different chains on and off, and we need to do a whole bunch of things all at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a note echo. We're going to turn the input to mute. We're going to turn the feedback all the way down. So what this is now going to do is it's going to catch the incoming note or series of MIDI notes, and it's going to create just one copy at the moment. And the series of notes is going to be the previous, according to these subdivisions, it's going to be these previous amount of note or notes is going to come into this. The input is going to be stopped, which is creating one iteration of it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group that, and we're going to rename that. This is going to be our ratcheting. So that's how we're going to sort of repeat the notes infinitely. Now, we need to create a situation where the incoming signal can also come straight through. So I'm going to right-click and create chain, and we're going to call this main out. I'm going to drag that above the ratcheting rack, and we're going to change between these using the chain selector here. Now, we need the incoming signal to always be coming into this ratcheting rack. If not, then this note echo is not going to repeat anything. It's going to just be repeating silence. So we're going to stretch this all the way over here. Now, we could use this chain selector to say we want the MIDI to come either to the main out or to the ratcheting. So this is effectively going to turn our main output on and off because the ratcheting rack is always going to be on. Now, we need to find a way to be able to turn the ratcheting rack off, or even though the output signal is being sent here. So we're going to do that with another rack in here. We're going to have racks inside racks today, I'm afraid. So we have this MIDI pathway here. This is always going to the output. This MIDI pathway here, we need to be able to turn on and off in the opposite ways. So when one is on, the other one is off. So how to make it so that we can turn the output of this on and off? Well, I'm going to bring in just any old device in here. I'm going to bring a pitch device in here, and I'm going to group that. And now I'm going to delete the pitch device. I'm going to open up these chains here, and I'm going to rename this off. And I'm going to right-click, create a chain, and rename that on. And again, we're going to change between these using the chain selector. And I'm going to turn the output of the off. That makes sense. Let's move this across 1. So I'm going to right-click on this, map this to macro 1. I'm going to change the range of that so it goes from 0 to 1, not 0 to 1. Thank you very much. So now this is going to turn the output of this note echo on and off. Now we want to do this at the exact same time that this output is turning the main output on and off. When this goes from 0 to 1 over here, it's going to turn that main output on and off. So I'm going to right click here and map that to macro 1. Again, I'm going to change the range of this from 0 to 1. I'm going to right click on this and map that to the same chain selector over there. So now this, when I turn this on, we can see it's moving this chain selector over here. So it's turning the main output off. And it's also moving this chain selector over here so that we're getting the output of the note echo turned on. Now, what we also need to connect with that is the feedback. So I'm going to right click and map that to the chain selector as well, so that when this is all the way down, we've got 0%, and when this is all the way up, we've got 100%. So we are almost there, but what we have here is a situation where this input is still receiving the incoming MIDI notes. So we're just going to be creating a whole ridiculous situation. If I was to press play on this now, we're just getting repeats upon repeats upon repeats upon repeats. I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to reset that. So we now need to make a situation where the incoming MIDI into the start of this rack is also turning off at the same time that we turn all of these other things. So I'm going to select all of that, and I'm going to turn it into another rack. I'm going to press Command G. I'm going to open up these chain selectors here, and I'm going to use the same technique as I used to turn the ratcheting notes on and off. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to create a chain. Let's call this one input on, and let's call this one input off. And let's move that over here. Just one. Let's turn that input off. Let's right click this, map that to macro 1. Let's change the range so it only goes from 0 to 1. And now on input off, input on rack, in here, exactly this is where all our ratcheting stuff is happening, and I'm going to map that same macro to that chain selector over there. So now this chain selector is now changing 3 different things on and off. It's changing the input from on to off. It's changing the outputs over here from on to off, and it's changing the ratcheting from on to off. So let's just see if that is doing what it's supposed to do. So now when I turn this on, it should just catch the note. Yeah, that's super nice. So now let's just add something to change to be able to control the rate or the range at which that's happening. So we come into our ratcheting here. Let's right click on this. Let's map that to macro 2. Let's right click on this and map that to macro 2. So now we can change this. Yeah, super nice. Or we can be super nice. Okay. The beat repeat has this sort of variation function that allows you to sort of, well, each time it does a beat repeat, it's a different subdivision. let's make it do that here. So what we're going to do is bring in an expression control, and we want to put that in here. So it's only going to change each time it's receiving a note from the input on. So when we do the ratcheting, this is no longer generating values. So we're going to put this on random. We're going to make this, let's make it bipolar. Let's random all the way up. Let's make it linear, and let's map that to here. Yeah, So now each time we turn the ratchet on, we're getting a randoming amount. Right, let's right click on the max 127 here, map that to macro 3. So now when we turn this all the way down, we're not getting any random values. We're going to get exactly the same subdivisions here, and we can sort of create ranges for that. That's super nice. Now, one other thing that's nice I found to put in here is kind of a random note generator. It can do some cool stuff when we're programming drums, but also some cool stuff when we're doing sequences. And we want that to be part of the ratcheting output, because we want to sort of be able to randomize each, like maybe randomize these notes in here. So let's make a situation where we can do that. So let's go into this ratcheting thing. We need to put something in here after the note echo. We're going to put a random in there after the note echo. Let's leave choices at 12, interval 1. Fun. Right, let's right click that, map that to macro 4, right click that, map that to macro 4 over there. And this is our random note. Nice. Yeah, this is really nice. Okay, cool. So you might have noticed also sometimes that when we turn the ratchet on and off, we're getting some chords. The reason that's happening is because this BD random amount is, it's changing the subdivisions here, and sometimes we're getting those subdivisions then landing on top of each other. So if I turn this random amount all the way down, we're not getting these chords, which, is a nice way to solve that problem. So, that's the rack. I've gone back to the start music now. I think it's a bit more interesting. That's the rack, this beat, repeat, but make it MIDI effect track. But then it allows us to do all the cool stuff that we can do when stuff is still MIDI. So, we turn the ratchet back on, and we can do all these randomizing stuff while still keeping that MIDI note or those sequence of MIDI notes incoming. Cool stuff. Thanks for being here today. Really enjoyed exploring this. Hope you got something from this tutorial. Patreon members can download this full set, of course. See you next time.